So here am I again, guys. Back at it for another movie review, twice in the same day, which is really a rarity for me. Yeah, this one I'm sure people will be more familiar with than the movie I did earlier. It's the dark high school romantic comedy, sort of, from 1988 called Heathers. So I've wanted to do Heathers for a while now, and I've heard a lot of praise given to it. Left a huge impression on me. But more of my thoughts on the movie in a moment. So Heathers was directed by an unknown named Michael Lehman, who directed one excellent movie, this one, and then a bunch of apparently shitty straight-to-DVD movies in the 2000s, plus one or two good gems sprinkled in between. And the film stars Winona Ryder, who, like my mom, apparently never ages. She literally does not. What is she, like 46 now? She does not look it. But anyway, Winona plays Veronica Sawyer, who is seemingly a misfit inside of the most popular clique at school, and she wants out. Her wish is later granted after she meets a bewildering, suave troublemaker named Jason Dean, stylized to JD, played by Christian Slater. Also featuring Shannon Doherty as one of the Heathers, Heather Duke, Lizanne Falk as Heather McNamara, and Kim Walker as Heather Chandler, arguably one of the early protagonists of the film as the leader of the clique. Kim Walker actually died in 2001 from a brain tumor, very tragically. She was only 32. But sometimes we forget that these Hollywood caricatures, or what we like to think of them as Hollywood caricatures, they aren't just paper cutouts. You know, they're real people, just like we are. And human suffrage is the same all over. Um, so yeah, it's very tragic. But anyway, as I've already said, Heathers is basically about Veronica Sawyer, who is in a clique she does not much like. She can't seem to completely find a way to rid herself from the clique, but she meets a mysterious, smooth-talking troublemaker, JD, who convinces her to play a prank on the clique leader, Heather Chandler, after takes her to a party. It causes VS, just decided to stylize the initials or whatever, causes her to puke. Needless to say, the prank turns into murder after JD puts liquid drainer in her cup and she drinks it in the morning after the party, and she dies almost instantaneously on the spot. They disguise the murder as suicide, brought upon by HC's unhappiness and dissatisfaction with their transparent, top-of-the-food chain life. Then JD concocts another scheme to lure two jocks into the woods near the high school with the pretense of both men knocking Veronica up. Well, sort of. In reality, Veronica and JD shoot the two men dead again. Veronica starts to really question the sick relationship, and she now finds herself trapped in with JD. As with the first murder, the two quote-unquote young lovers disguise the double murder as basically a double suicide, planting evidence at the scene to make it look like the two football-playing jocks were actually gay. As with the first time, everyone takes it for fact. Yeah, I don't know. I really like that now that I've seen the whole movie, though. CinemaSins would probably give it a sin, but anyway. Three bizarre suicides, all with a common theme running between them in the space of a few days in a small town. No, it's not weird at all. But anyway, next to an unpopular obese girl nicknamed Martha Dumptruck attempts to take her own life by walking into a busy street. Needless to say, she survives. Later, as we see one of the surviving Heathers, Heather McNamara, attempts suicide by pills in the school's bathroom. Veronica arrives just in time to thwart it. And she's becoming more and more the hero, as you'll see. Becoming more and more disillusioned also, not just about JD, but her old clique, her school in general, life in general. She distances herself from everyone, and ideas start running through her head. She gets the notion that JD will try and kill her and the new Queen Heather, i.e. Heather Duke, before blowing up the school. So she pretends to have hung herself in her room, knowing JD will come and discover her. JD comes through her window and sees Veronica hanging there, apparently dead. This does not seem to faze him, as nothing does, and he continues on with his plan to, well, you'll see in a minute. Veronica gets herself down and follows JD back to the high school, discovering his plot to blow up this gym just in time. This is a Friday, and there's a pep rally there, so she shoots him in the boiler room underneath the gym as he's trying to finish setting the explosives. But he survives long enough to reveal in fact, he has rigged himself to blow up as well, because he's got nothing to live for, basically. Both stagger out of the building, and Veronica stands there watching while the man she thought had loved her detonates himself. Undeterred, stronger in fact by all she has been through, Veronica heads back into the school like a warrior. The film ends when she sits down with aforementioned Martha Dumptruck, real name Martha Dunstock, and starts to converse with her. Now that she is out of the clique, she gets to have real down-to-earth conversations again. And friendships that will last. Well, that certainly is not all of the movie, and there's a lot I left out, but due to time constraints, I don't have time for more. For a bit of backstory, Daniel Waters, another unknown, who wrote the film, he originally wanted Stanley Kubrick to direct. As we all know, he didn't, and to be honest, I'm not sure it would have made that big of a difference. The film is practically perfect as it is, and some of the scenes are really set toward Kubrick-like scenes with the cinematography, some actors / actresses that either turned down roles or were turned down themselves include Jennifer Connelly, Justine Bateman, and Brad Pitt. The soundtrack was nothing spectacular, although I was oddly enough very impressed and intrigued by the opening and closing music, especially the opening version of the song. Two covers of Que Sera Sera, which I think was a 50s or 60s, early 60s pop hit, number one. Real big song, I'm sure most of you know it. Interesting choice that by the end of the film fits in nicely with the lyrics and all. The score for the movie by David Newman is what really clicked, though. It was very haunting and not overused. The cinematography was brilliant as well. Many scenes are almost like dream sequences. You can make a case for this film being an art film. Certainly well above the usual high school dramas of the time, although keep in mind that the 80s were the genre's best period for pure, straight 80s high school dramas. You had classics such as Fast Times at Ridgemont High, The Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, just to name some of the top three. The 90s also had brilliant high school films, most notably Clueless, 10 Things I Hate About You, and Election. But in the 80s and 70s, to some extent as well, really shined in terms of the best high school films, the most iconic that you remember most. Ironically, the one thing that maybe was a turnoff at first about the film was the name Heathers, which I didn't really understand. Wouldn't 3 Heathers or 4 Heathers sound just as good? But then it doesn't really matter. It's all meaningless minutia anyway. The film has a 95% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is very good for an 80s film. And it's arguably one of the top 5 high school films and one of the 500 greatest films of all time. While some aspects of it are outdated, such as the clothing, some catchphrases, that's very... and of course the technology and general 80s feel, the film holds up remarkably well after 30 years. It really is coming of age in my mind. And it's more than what meets the eye. I'd probably have to see it 2 to 3 times to truly understand the message and decipher what the film was really about. It really deals brilliantly with high school situations, using actual high school age leads for the film, which is a rarity. It feels heartfelt and genuine. Nothing really feels forced. It's funny, it's dark, the ending is a must-watch, and depth and symbolism abound. It really feels like you're watching a dream world, and I even compare it favorably with The Last Picture Show from over 15 years earlier in that regard. As I've seen Clueless numerous times as well, it's obvious that aspects of this film are borrowed for it, right down to the character types themselves. Clueless is a good movie, but it's not Heathers, let's be honest. I could say more on this film, but why bother? It's a film you have to see for yourself with an open eye and mind to truly understand and appreciate. When I can afford better equipment and have a faster connection, then I'll start to enhance my videos here, really start adding in clips and the like. So get to look forward to that whenever that happens. This film would be perfect for that, because there are many quotable scenes, very lasting dialogue, if that makes sense. I mean, you can quote it today and people know what you're talking about. So it won't be my last review of the film ever. So I give it a 4 out of 4 stars. It says it's one of the best films of the late 80s, one of the greatest high school films ever. It deserves all the attention it's gotten in the 2010s and more, what with the musical and the TV show. So definitely check out this movie, guys. If you're a fan of the 80s, you do not want to miss this. Thanks for watching, guys, and be sure to leave a comment telling me what film or whatever you'd like to see me review next. So yeah, guys.